I enjoyed working, but I realized there had to be a smarter way, right? I realized that I had to put other things being my family before attempting to try to keep working so many hours and working hard. And that's when I learned to start to hire properly.
You're asking yourself, why am I doing this?
Smart people would know how to use all these different tools. They start with something small.
You'll never get your entire organization if you don't pull off operations. Don't give up.
It can be as small as that.
I think you guys are going to have a last today.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Delegate That podcast, where we discuss the art and science of delegation, business management, and leadership. I am your host, 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗃𝗃, and today I am really thrilled to have another conversation with another Adam Roach. Be careful, though, because you got to be careful what Adams say, because they make up everything. Look out for that. Anyways, Adam, if you can, please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
You know what, Adam? If we do make stuff up, it's probably really good made up stuff too, right? Yeah. Adam Roach, Charleston, South Carolina. I am in the coaching space, and what I mean by coaching space, I do coach individuals. Though our business, I Love Coaching Community, is a community of coaches that is made up now. We've been blessed to be on 4 continents. And what I mean by that is we have community members that are on 4 different continents. We are the framework for coaches when they want to learn how to build a business inside of the coaching space, and then we have that coaching community. So I've been doing that now since 2019, and we've been blessed to have and serve people all over the globe. And Adam Roach is a dad, 2 kids, soon to be 17 and 15 years old, that are tennis players, got an amazing wife who is also an amazing entrepreneur. And I'm just blessed to be here, buddy. And this is exciting to be on your podcast.
Do you feel overwhelmed with mundane tasks that eat up your valuable time? It's time to reclaim your schedule and focus on what truly matters. Get your time back with elite remote talent without the time zone hassle. Delegate $10 an hour tasks to focus on more $1,000 an hour tasks. Schedule your free strategy call at 𝗺𝗷𝘁𝗀𝗃.io.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And for those of you who don't know, I also host another podcast, the 𝗺𝗫𝗀𝗃 podcast. I'm going to drag Adam on for that one as well to talk all about the dad side of the house. That's going to be a good time. But Adam, I want to kind of, you weren't always you may have always been in the coaching business side of the house, because I know we talked about some sports and stuff that you did. But what did you do in business before you got into the coaching space?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I've always been in the coaching space simply because my father was an Olympic swim coach. I got to see him coach many athletes throughout his career and tenure in that space. I've been in the tennis business before. I was a pseudo-professional tennis player. I did not say professional, because I found out real quick 4 tournaments in that I was an American, not a European. I was getting my butt kicked, and I was done in that profession because losing and Adam Roach just usually don't go hand in hand. Failing can go hand in hand, but losing is never fun. So fast forward, got into the tennis business. Myself and 3 other guys, we owned what was called the concession rights to the city of Beverly Hills' tennis courts. So we managed and ran 38 courts there in the city of Beverly Hills. And that company still runs today. It's called Beverly Hills Tennis. It's not mine. I sold out many years ago. And then got into the Keller Williams franchise ownership world. So I ran the franchises in the real estate space, and then 2017, actually, no, I think it's earlier than that. 2016, I owned 3 franchises here in the Southeast, up and down the coast of South Carolina and Myrtle Beach, in 2 here in Charleston, and then exited those successfully in 2019. Also had a SaaS model company that we were in the recruiting space. And the recruiting space was mostly in the real estate space. It was called Recruiting Bridge, and that was one of those dumb luck type businesses that I created it for myself in a specific role that I was in. And the next thing I know, it was in nearly 800 offices all across Keller Williams, and everybody was paying us nearly $500 a month for it. So it was fantastic.
Yeah. So you obviously have had a variety of different endeavors that you've seemed to, a majority of them have been successful. But before we started recording, you told me that one of the things that you would love to talk about is the massive amounts of times you failed. But yet, and obviously what you're talking about here is a bunch of the successes. So kind of walk me through, and obviously we could have failures and success. You can't have success without failure. So I'd love to just kind of lob that over the net back to you and just kind of say, hey, talk to me about some of the failure and how you got through all this.
It's fascinating. As entrepreneurs, let me rephrase that. I came out of the gates shouldering everything, thinking that it was going to have to be me that was again, picking up the tennis balls or hiring the staff at Beverly Hills Tennis or recruiting the pros or building the marketing to get out to the city or running the Keller Williams franchises, I was the main recruiter. I also loved money, so I was dabbling in the finance space. And man, your shoulders are only so wide, right? I shared this before we started recording here, that John Maxwell became a dear friend of mine after my father passed in 2019, but was a huge mentor of mine way before that. And I'll never forget, we went to, it was probably 2008, 2007-ish time. And I heard him speak, and I heard him speak about leadership. And I realized how poorly I was leading by trying to do everything myself, how poorly I was in my SaaS business, trying to be the salesperson, trying to be the financier, trying to be the attractive character on camera to attract clients. I mean, it was just, and then John was just like, listen, it's we know leadership is influence, and influence is just getting people to do what we need them to do based on the direction that we're all growing towards. And boy, I learned real fast that if I didn't hire the right people, none of my businesses were going to be successful. And if I didn't delegate the right things based on their skill sets, I mean, I wasn't going to have dollars and cents coming in. So I've failed a lot of ways in hiring. I've failed a lot of ways in leading people with the right tasks to do, the right processes to do, the right SOPs to build. Though, where there's failure, you start to eventually have success, right? You bang your head up against the wall long enough, you'll eventually get through it.
Yeah, if you have a hard enough head, and entrepreneurs tend to have a hard head, right? They got to work through it, right?
I used to have hair a long time ago, and because of my poor delegation, I'm pretty sure I pulled it all out.
That tends to happen from time to time. Yeah. I mean, you said 2019 is kind of when John Maxwell, after your father passed, had kind of became like an actual mentor. And you mentioned 1999 being kind of when you started Entrepreneur Space. So walk me through what leadership looked like to you in that 20-year time frame before you really started to get some of these clicks in your head. And how did you still pull success with the, I guess one could say, the incorrect view of what leadership is?
I am a fourth generation Roach from Indiana, and two generations before me, so it was my grandfather and my great-grandfather, were farmers in Indiana. So 2,000 plus acreage farmers, corn, soybean, cows. And my dad was also post. He didn't necessarily grow up on the farm, but they were at the farm. His dad moved them to Main Street. And then so I was the first Roach kid off the farm. But of course, we went back to the farm. And from 99 until 2019, what I did is I knew what my grandfather did, and that was work hard, right? That was work hard. That was attempt to carry everything. That was let me run at my pace, and I hope everybody can keep up with me. But at the end of the day, I was just running my own race and not learning how to have people help me. And that was a problem, right? That was a burning the candle at both ends. That was, I'll never forget owning the tennis club and stepping into the real estate space also. So now I'm general manager of the tennis club. I'm doing private lessons. I'm also the tournament director. Did I mention I was the adult league coordinator also? And I was flipping real estate at the same time, right? And it was just, there were so many moving parts, but I thought I could do this because I was young, right? I thought I could do this on my own because I had the tenacity to keep moving forward. And it really wasn't until I started paying attention that when I got married in 2003 for the first time, she wasn't happy with me being gone all the time. She wasn't happy with me working as many hours as I was. I enjoyed working, but I realized there had to be a smarter way, right? I realized that I had to put other things being my family before attempting to try to keep working so many hours and working hard. And that's when I learned to start to hire properly.
So you mentioned getting married for the first time. Would you say that some of the stress of what you were doing is what led to it being the first time instead of the only time?
Absolutely. And I'll give the example of that. When we launched Recruiting Bridge, all my developers, I was in Charleston, and all my developers were in SoCal. And I had a partner out in SoCal, though in the same time, I liked helping. I liked running stuff, right? I understood how to code, but these were legit professional coders. And so I would stay up all night watching and reading their code and looking at stuff and not necessarily trying to dabble in there, but just it was intriguing to me. I was a financier too, so I would watch our numbers and I would stay up. I mean, you got to think 3 a.m. on the East Coast is only 12 o'clock on the Pacific time. And so they were still working, right? And my ex-wife at the time was not happy. And then when I did ask her for help, she was like, seems like you got this under control. Why do you need my help? And I was like, because I need my time back. And that was really a cry for help when I started to realize that she was getting upset. We started having kids. And I was like, okay, I got to figure this time thing out, because if I don't, I won't have a family.
Yeah. And I forgive me for jumping in on the personal side, but it is one of those things that if as entrepreneurs, we don't realize that if we're not delegating properly, we're not leading properly, it is going to have a massive effect at you on your home. So being able to understand and learn from folks like you who've like, hey, like have the wisdom from my mistakes, don't make them yourself. Like, let's start making these happen. So what sort of things did you start to implement afterwards? You were like, okay, this is how I'm going to start to lead. This is how I'm going to start to bring my skills to the business, and then let other people's skills generate more revenue.
Well, so there was a class inside of Keller Williams that I took initially, and it was called Recruit, Select, Train, Lead, and Motivate. So I think they called it RSTLM. And it was a fascinating course to me. And I bet I took that course 10 times. And I thought, whoa, there's the manuscript. There is the how to go find talent, how to recruit talent, how to lead talent, how to motivate talent. And I just went all in on it, right? Really went all in on it. So now I'm running Keller Williams franchises. We still have the SaaS model that's going, and I have this manuscript. And so I literally started hiring. So we went from myself and my partner and one person inside of Recruiting Bridge to within probably about 3 to 4 months, we had a salesperson in every time zone. We had a retention person in every time zone. So we went out and we hired 8 new people specifically for those roles, so that our customers we never let the sun set on Recruiting Bridge. That was kind of our internal thing. It was if someone needed somebody, we were there for them. Internally inside of Keller Williams, I started hiring the right talent, not just someone to sit in there that I could micromanage and do their work for them, but literally hire the right talent, and then teach them how to do the right things so that I could actually have what we called time back. And that was pretty cool. So fast forward to 2022, 2023, I read a book called Buy Back Your Time. And Dan Martell, and personally reached out to Dan and called him up, or we got on the phone and hired him as a coach, my coach. And what a life changer that was. So going back to understanding how to hire the right people, how to put them in the right spots, how to train, lead, and motivate them, really just opened my eyes up to so many things. And now as we sit in this coaching community, we are running a multi-million-dollar coaching business, and with great profit margins. And we're doing it because I hired the right person. I hired the right team, hired the right people.
Yeah. And I mean, it is the, as EOS, I know you said before we were recording that you do EOS, right person, right seat, making sure they're in the right stuff, right? So besides EOS, like what sort of tools or tangible things can we provide to the audience to say, hey, these are some things that you could take home right now to help make sure that you have the right people sitting in those seats, that you're not taking over things that you shouldn't be taking over. What sort of things do you use on a day-to-day basis, or did you used to use on a day-to-day basis to make sure that stuff's happening without you having to be involved?
Yeah, great question. So I'll actually give you, and you can give it to your listeners if they want to, what's called a cash talk. So it was knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits. Now, this was a Keller Williams tool or system that I've since made our own. And it was just a series of 6 questions. So when I hired a new talent, or when I hired someone that was going to hire somebody else under their leadership, for 90 days, so this would be done every Friday at a specific time, a cash talk was held. And it was 6 questions, the same 6 questions every day for 90 let's see, what would that be? 3 months in a row, they would do the cash talk. And the questions were very simple. What knowledge did you gain this week? Where do you feel you still need to gain knowledge? What's your attitudes like right now? What are you liking about the role? What are you disliking about the role? What are you finding brings you the most energy? Skills. What skills do you believe you still need to possess to have success in this role? What habits are you finding that people in this role are having that you don't have, that you still need to possess? And the last question, which isn't part of the acronym, was one of my favorite questions to ask is, where do you feel you still need more of my support? And I'll give you an example with that question. This was 2015-ish. I hired this we called it a productivity coach inside of 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗀𝗃, our office. And this individual was to be a coach inside to get our internal company dollar or revenue increased by coaching the internal agents. And I'll never forget Strong. She was from Puerto Rico originally, but Houston, Texas, single mom. Her kids were adults, but she just had this real grit to her. And I was like, yep, I'm going to hire you. I'm going to move you to Charleston. You're going to be incredible. So at that time, we had about 15,000 square feet in this office. And I hired her. And she was doing okay, not great, but I just thought it was part of the learning curve. And I was going through the cash talk with her. And I got to the last question. Where do you feel you need my support even more? And she said, I'm lonely. I was like, I said, well, I'm married. And she's like, no. But she said, no, in all honesty, you recruited me here. I didn't know anybody. And sure, I'm a very strong, independent woman, but you put me on the other side of the building where the team, we call it division team, the team is on this side of the building. I would like to be closer to you guys so that I can be a part of the energy, be part of the culture, be part of all of that. Otherwise, I feel like I'm kind of left out. And I would have never, ever thought in a million years that this strong, independent woman wanted to be closer to our hub. Sure enough, brought her closer. I mean, we made that change in 30 seconds, and her productivity shot up because now she felt that she was part of it. Now, there's a second part to this, and it is an 8-question. There's 8 questions that you have to ask yourself after you do the initial cash talk. And we call it the red light, green light. And here you're asking your own self, so you're going more internally with yourself. Do I feel this person is having success in the role? Where are they having success? Where are they having failures? Do I feel that they're a good long-term solution? Why or why not? Do I want to be in a relationship with this person? Where do they still need to have growth? And what do I not know yet? That was the last question. What do I not know yet? And if you continued, you felt this was a good hire, you green lighted it and kept growing it. If you felt it was a red light, then you changed some things. So this simple little system really helped me understand, do I have the right talent? Can I help talent expose where there are opportunities for growth? Now, I'll take Jess Weber, who I hired as an integrator inside of I Love Coaching 3 years ago. We did this successfully. We did not miss a day for 3 months straight, and it just strengthened our relationship. And I never thought I could do this. And that was have a vital part of my leadership team not live here in Charleston. She lives in St. Louis, Missouri. And yet we are successfully running this coaching community that has touched many lives now, and we're not even in the same office. And I do attribute that to the cash talk because that helped us strengthen our relationship as we were going through those first 30, 60, 90 days.
That's awesome. I the cash talk and the 8 questions after the red light, green light. I love that. I'm definitely going to have to try to steal those from you at some point and hopefully pass them on to listeners. So, what sort of actual physical tools do you use on a day-to-day basis to make sure that you're tracking the right stuff that's going on, that you're not dropping the ball somewhere, that you're especially if you look at your integrator and say, hey, my integrator's doing a lot of that stuff, but how do you as the visionary still make sure that the integrator things are happening and all of that, all the stuff that's going on there? Or maybe you just know that you hired the right person, you don't touch that. So go with that where you'd like.
Yeah, great question. To answer the question is the latter part now. Right. So we've developed the relationship. We've developed this trust that it's now to the point where the company is running itself. though every Monday we have our L10 meeting. And and for the listeners that don't know EOS, the L10 is a level 10 meeting. And what that basically is it's a 90-minute meeting where we're looking for it to be a 10 out of a 10. And inside of there, we have to-dos, we have dones or not dones, and then we have IDSs. And IDS is identify, discuss, and solve. And so she has developed trust in me because what she says she's going to do, I don't need a micromanager. She gets it done. And in the beginning, right, I did have to have some high-level accountability with her. And then she learned that I'm an accountable person and I hold people accountable. And if you say you're going to get something done, you get it done. And if you don't get it done, then we're going to have a conversation around it. And so now she's at the point where if she says she's going to GSD stuff, then get it done. And then every Friday, we have a bookend meeting. So inside of that Friday meeting, it's 60 minutes long. And we open up a little EOS. We'll start off by saying, tell me something good and personal and tell me something good in business that happened this week. And then we go into more of the discussion of what'd you get done and what didn't you get done and where do you need help? And she'll ask me that same question too, because there are to-dos that I have committed to from our Monday meeting. So right now, Adam, we are in a space where it is just, man, it is so fluid inside of our business.
That's the fluidity of a business is wonderful, but also, I would imagine for you, somebody like you, your brain seems to go 100 miles an hour. You got all these ideas, all these things. The fluidity is amazing. Is that something that you find is difficult for your team to manage with the fluidity? Because for somebody like for me, I love it. I love constant change. I love being able to move here, bounce there, idea here, idea there. But I know it drives other people absolutely insane. So what does that look like for you as a team, and how do you make sure that everybody stays on the right path?
Yep, great question. So what we have done is we have actually, I have a folder. I have an Adam dump folder. And the Adam dump folder is anytime that I have an idea, anytime that I have something that just sparks me at 3 a.m., I get to go dump. Otherwise, I mean, we've all heard the seagull analogy or a comparison where a seagull just comes in, takes a dump, and flies away. I've been that before, right? And so they gave me a dump folder, just gave me a dump folder where I can go in there and I can just dump my ideas. If you're next time any listeners are here in Charleston, you want to stop by the I Love Coaching International headquarters. We're right here on Shim Creek and right here on the water. And I have, if there's, I don't know, a dozen walls in our office, I bet I have at least half of them painted with what we call idea paint. And that's where I get to be like a 6-year-old and write on my walls all day, every day. But I need to have those releases, right? It's important for me to have mental releases. And if I don't, I jokingly say to the team that I'm mentally constipated and I need to have a dump. Sorry for the visuals there, but that's the way it is. I've got to release what's in my head. So they've given me a folder. I get to go in there and dump my ideas when I have them. And then we do go over those ideas on our Monday L10. And if there's any that are sticking, we will go deeper with them in the IDS. And if there's not, then we just kind of table them and then move on.
Awesome. Yeah, we had to do that with one of my business partners in the past. It's like, I love it because I had the same ideas. I was in that same boat and wanted to constantly be throwing ideas out there. But yeah, we had to have his own little folder to be like, you just put all your good ideas over here. We'll save them at some point. We'll make it we'll try to execute, if it's still an idea next month, it might be closer to a really good idea. It might just be a floundering thing and just not have to chase it. But chasing yellow butterflies for the team is very, very uncomfortable.
Well, and I'll add one thing to that, Adam.
Yeah.
Is I believe when from a delegating standpoint, right? That's what we're talking about. When you can let me rephrase that, when a visionary or a leader of an organization can build trust in his or her people, knowing that trust is through communication. And communication can also be that you're not always right? You as a leader, you as the CEO, you as the president, you as the owner of the company, you're not always right. Or maybe that idea isn't a good idea, or it's not the right time for the idea. And your team knows that they can share with you, now is not the right time, right? Because I'll push really hard when I think something is right. I was reading a book, what was it? The 5 levels of wealth. What's his name? �57𝗪𝗀𝗀𝗀, I think it is. 5 levels of wealth, I think. And I had this idea. And the idea was because it was measuring time. And I love time. I love tracking things. And I said, what if there was a calendar that measured how much time you were specifically in a certain element of a growth space, right? From health, wealth, relationships, spirituality, something along those lines. And so I shot this to Jess, and she wrote back and she sent the emoji of a head exploding. And she was like, not right now. And I was like, no, this is amazing. I'm on an airplane. I think I was flying to like St. John or something like that. This is an amazing idea. We've got to start to implement this right now. Could you imagine if the coaches implemented something like this? And she replied back and she goes, that would be amazing, though not right now. And literally within 30 minutes of landing, I'm now in a beautiful tropical place. I completely forgot about it, but she put it in my dump folder for me, which was kind of good. We haven't touched it since though. Yeah.
Yeah. Those ideas come to me often when I'm riding the lawnmower, right? Like I'm riding the lawnmower, I'm listening to a book, and I just have to stop. Like put the thing down, stop, take a quick note in my notebook, try to think. So, it never lose those ideas. I love listening to Joe Rogan as a lot of people do. And he talks about how, creating content for his comedy shows. It's one of those things that it can strike you in the middle of nowhere. The same thing with business stuff. So take the opportunity to at least express it. Don't be discouraged by the fact that somebody said, no, not right now. Just know that like these ideas, you if it's a good idea, you must act on it, but it doesn't have to be now, right? Let it sit, put it down there, let it roll, and make it happen. So,
well, and when you trust your teammates, right? So this kind of goes back to delegating. When you trust your teammates enough for them to say, "Hey, great idea," because we do need that praise from time to time. Great idea. Just let's table this and put that on hold for now. So yeah, that's good.
For sure. What were some things that went awry before you started to do that? Maybe you started just when you were doing all the things yourself and you had all these good ideas and you just started executing on them. What were some of the things that went awry? What are some things that people can look out for if they're maybe exhausting their team on those sort of things?
Well, so I'm a firm believer that when you hire someone, you got to stretch them right out of the gate, right? And I tell anybody ever in the past or anybody now going in the future, your first 30 days with me is I'm looking for your breaking point. I really want to find what can I put on your plate, how much can I put on your plate, and what's your bandwidth, what's your capacity. And I've broken people before, right? And I don't say that proudly. I have run people away because they didn't believe me that the first 30 days were going to be tough. And I've run away some good talent, and I'm not proud of that. Though I did set the expectation ahead of time, and it was just too much for them. So what could you look out for? You could look out for that. You could look out for the fire hydrant approach. And sometimes if you go down the path that I love to go down and try to find people's breaking point and you break them, they might not come back, right? And that's challenging because, again, I find that when you find talent, your job is to grow that talent. Your job is to stretch that talent, and your job is to retain that talent. And I can honestly say that I've run off talent many times before that I regret, or I have not hired talent based on judgment in a way that, gosh, I'll never forget. I was hiring a CEO for one of the franchises, and it was down to 2 candidates, and I was romanticizing, not in a physical or a sexual way, but about this one candidate in the role, about how good this person would be in the role. I mean, they dressed the part, they spoke the part, they drove the Maserati, right? So I was like, wow, this is the image that this is going to create. And this guy had successfully exited a very high 7-figure business that he had created himself, right? So it was so very in alignment. And my other candidate was someone that had good success, but not as great success, right? And I chose the candidate that I had romanticized about in the role, when the other one I attempted to hire in another business, turned it down, and I wound up firing the Maserati person, and like 60 days in the role. And the other one went on to become a New York Times bestselling author, went on to build her own coaching business, went on to I brought her back to speak up on stages of events that I was hosting. And so the moral of that story is you got to pay attention to everything and not just be attached to the outcome based on kind of material things and what you think are really going to be a game changer in your business, when you got to pull the covers back from time to time.
Do you have your integrator hire now more than you? Is that something that?
Yep.
Yeah. And that's something I think that it's very easy for a visionary to have that romanticize, whatever, you know what I'm saying, of a person, of a thing, of an idea, and just have this image of what's going on without looking at, 7 layers deep, or an integrator tends to be able to look, those 7 layers deep. So definitely, it's similar to when you're going to potentially have a, business partnership with somebody. Bring your spouse along with you, bring your wife along with you. If you're a dude, bring your husband along, whatever the case may be, because they can see things that you can't. They can feel things that you can't. Get good ideas bouncing back and forth.
I'll give another example here where I almost failed here recently, and this was probably about a year and a half ago. My integrator now started using the word partner when we were either at events or introducing me. And at first I was like, oh, interesting that you want to use that word. So my ego radar went really high. It's like, oh, whoa, we're not partners, right? I'm your employer and you're my employee. And I really had to take a step back and thought, you know what? That's shame on you if you're thinking that way, which I really wasn't thinking that way 100%. But the word partner, I mean, that's a heavy word. I've had partners in the past. I've had good partners. I've had bad partners, though it was a mutually agreed upon word, right? And then had a great conversation with John Maxwell about this and some other mentors. And it really hit me like a ton of bricks. That if you have someone in your organization and they are saying, this is my partner, they're owning their role. Not only are they owning it, they love it. They love it so much that they want to look at you as a partner. And whether they have equity or don't have equity, get out of the freaking way and let them call themselves whatever they want to. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want someone to be so comfortable in the role that they look at you as a partner. And so we actually had to have the conversation of what being a partner meant and what the thought process I was having to be in this partner space. Yeah, let's talk phantom ownership, right? Let's talk about stepping you into a space of having bonuses from profitabilities, though I'm not going to expose you to being an equity partner. And that's a true story, right? I didn't want to expose her to any of the liabilities that I have out there, any of the exposure of litigation or anything like that. I don't see that coming down the path. But I said, let's definitely talk about phantom ownership here. And so I could have gone down the path and said, whoa, let's have this conversation. You're not my partner. When all she was really saying was, I love what I'm doing. I love being in this business with you together. And let's continue to strive and push towards our vision statement or your vision statement. But I just want you to know I'm 100% on board. Some people could get their egos in the way and probably screw it up and lose talent over a simple little word like that.
Yeah, I can't imagine any entrepreneur ever getting their ego in the way. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
Right.
Well, Adam, it has been awesome to be able to pull a bunch of knowledge from you, be able to hear your wisdom. It's you obviously have a bunch of experience, and it's really fun to kind of learn from you. And I appreciate you spending some time with us. If folks are hearing you and they want to reach out, find out more about your coaching business or whatever the case may be, what is the best way for folks to be able to get a hold of you?
Yep. So a couple things. You can just go to my Instagram, Adam R. Roach. There's 2 R's there. So Adam R. Roach. And actually, if you want the cash talk, just go to Adam R. Roach and type DM me cash, KASH, and I'll get that sheet right over to you. So Adam, you don't have to deal with that. And then if you want to go check out I Love Coaching, just go to ilovecoachingco.com. And the very first thing that'll pop up is a coach quiz. I think it's 8-10 questions long. So if you have any ideas or thoughts or passion pulling you into coaching space, go to ilovecoachingco.com, check us out, and go take the coach quiz.
Awesome. Well, Adam, again, it was an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you, getting to know you a little bit more. Thank you so very much. Everybody listening, obviously a massive wealth of experience and knowledge coming at you today. It was a wonderful conversation. I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. Please comment below. Let us know what your favorite part was. Share it with somebody that you think is going to gather some great information from this conversation. Like and subscribe, all of that stuff you're supposed to do. Reach out to Adam if there's anything he can do. I thank you all very much for participating. We would not be having these interviews if it wasn't for you. So thank you again. Thank you again, Adam. And we will see everybody on the next show.
Sure, my pleasure. Thanks, Adam.